Prime Minister should know that my constituents in Romford are shocked, angry and dismayed by the suggestion by the ONS that the population of this country will rise to 72.5 million by 2032. Mr. Speaker, that's 500,000 people a year, which is unsustainable. Who voted for that? And will the government do something to ensure that the population of this country is sustainable going forward? Because there is no mandate for such a colossal increase in immigration in this country.
I think he should talk to his leader. Because net migration went through the roof under the last government, nearly 1 million, quadrupled. And who was cheering it on? Who was cheering it on? The leader of the opposition. His constituents are right to be concerned about the loss of control by the last government. We're taking control. We will bring these numbers down. But the record is absolutely clear, and it sits right there.
That completes Prime Minister's questions. We'll let the front bench change over. To the statement, I call the Chief Secretary to the Treasury.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With your permission, I would like to update the House on the government's work to unlock investment and secure economic growth. This is the #1 mission of this government, Mr. Speaker, because without growth, we cannot deliver on the priorities of the British people. It will mean that we can't cut NHS waiting lists or rebuild our schools or put more police on our streets. This is why our pursuit of growth is our first mission, putting our country on a new path towards a brighter future after 14 years of failure from the Conservatives. By helping businesses to invest and create wealth, they can provide jobs and opportunities that change lives, putting more pounds in people's pockets and rejuvenating communities across the country. And we have seen progress here already, Mr. Speaker, with huge private sector investments into our country since this government came into service. But now we must go faster and we must go further. We must help businesses and places to achieve their potential. And we do this by being an active and strategic state, one that works in true partnership with businesses, investors and local leaders to deliver for the British people in every corner of the country. This principle was at the heart of the Chancellor's speech earlier today in Oxfordshire, where she announced the latest steps this government is taking to drive growth across the country. And I am pleased, Mr. Speaker, to update the House on these announcements now. The economic growth that we are pursuing, Mr. Speaker, must reach into every town, city and community across the United Kingdom. Inclusive growth for everyone, not just for those at the top. Because there is untapped talent and unrealised opportunity throughout the country, and we cannot let that go to waste any longer. If we can raise the productivity of major cities like Manchester, Birmingham and Leeds just to the national average, then we will deliver an extra £33 billion in economic output. So I can confirm that our plans for regional growth will be hardwired into the spending review, into the infrastructure strategy, into the industrial strategy and into our approach to trade and investment. We are already providing £200 million of funding to support development of a new mass transit system in West Yorkshire. And at the autumn budget, we secured improved connections between towns and cities from Manchester through to York. And we are developing our plans to further improve connectivity in the north and across the country through our 10-year infrastructure strategy, which will set out our long-term vision for social and economic infrastructure across the country. Today, Mr. Speaker, we are progressing with the Wrexham and Flintshire Investment Zone, focusing on the area's incredible strengths in advanced manufacturing to leverage in £1 billion of private investment and to create up to 6,000 new jobs. As the Chancellor announced at Davos last week, the Office for Investment will work hand in hand with with local areas to develop opportunities for international inward investment, starting with Liverpool City Region and North East Combined Authorities, while the National Wealth Fund will build on its strengthened combined authority engagement to build a pipeline of investable propositions with mayors, starting with strategic partnerships in Glasgow City Region, West Yorkshire, the West Midlands and Greater Manchester. And sticking with Manchester, we are giving our support to the Mayor of Greater Manchester's plan for the redevelopment of Old Trafford, creating new housing, new commercial developments and a new stadium, but I am advised to inform the House not necessarily government-wide support for the team which play there. I'm pleased to update the House, Mr. Speaker, on our new approach to the Oxford-Cambridge Growth Corridor, a hugely exciting opportunity for the UK and the British economy. For centuries, these two cities have been synonymous with inspiration, invention and innovation. Economic analysis suggests that with the right support, the region could bring a GDP boost of £78 billion by 2035. Yet time and time again, governments have failed to capitalise on this remarkable area, most recently in 2021, when the last government dropped its commitment to what it called the Oxcam Arc project. Through underinvestment, poor transport connections and a lack of affordable housing, the incredible growth potential of the area has been squandered, as people and businesses have been forced to move and invest elsewhere. No longer. Lord Vallance will act as our champion for the growth corridor, utilising his impressive experience in life sciences, academia and government to unlock growth opportunities across the region and promote its potential to investors across the world. And we will establish a new growth commission for Oxford to recognise and capitalise on the growth potential of this historic city. We already know, Mr. Speaker, of course, that transportation is a huge factor in the success of the country. Heathrow is the UK's only hub airport and the UK's largest air freight hub by volume, connecting us to emerging markets around the world, opening up new opportunities for trade and investment. But its growth has been constrained for decades. Today, we are announcing that the government supports and is inviting proposals for a third runway at Heathrow Airport to be brought forward by the summer. This is an important infrastructure project expected to have positive growth impacts across the United Kingdom and has the backing of businesses and business groups like the CBI, the FSB and the British Chambers of Commerce, as well as trade unions like the GMB and Unite. According to a recent study from Frontier Economics, a third runway could increase GDP by 0.43% over the next 25 years. Over half, 60% of that boost would go to areas outside of London and the South East. It could create over 100,000 jobs in the local area and maintain Heathrow status both as a global passenger hub and the UK's largest air freight hub by volume. Reforms that this government has introduced to speed up the planning system will ensure delivery of this project and will set it up for success. Once proposals have been received, the government will take forward a full assessment through the Airport National Policy Statement to ensure that any scheme is delivered in line with our legal, environmental and climate obligations. We want the scheme to be value for money, and our clear expectation is that any surface transport costs associated with the project will be financed by private capital and should be sustainable and low carbon. The Secretary of State for Transport will also set out planning decisions for further airport expansion at Gatwick and Luton shortly. Crucially, I'm also pleased to announce that we are taking further steps in our transition to greener, cleaner aviation. At the start of this month, the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Mandate became law. Sustainable aviation fuel reduces carbon dioxide emissions compared to fossil jet fuel by around 70%. Today, we are announcing an additional £63 million for the Advanced Fuels Fund over the next year, and we've set out the details of how we will deliver a revenue certainty mechanism. These measures will support investment and high-skilled green jobs in plant across the United Kingdom, delivering sustainable aviation fuel here in the UK for UK consumption. Transportation is equally important on a local level, and this is as true for the Oxford-Cambridge Growth Corridor as it is for anywhere else. So this government has confirmed that it will provide crucial funding for transport links, including upgrades to the A428 to reduce journey times between Milton Keynes, Bedford and Cambridge, and East West Rail with new services between Oxford and Milton Keynes starting this year. We have already received submissions to the new Towns Task Force to build new developments along the new railway, and at Tempsford we will accelerate delivery of a mainline station on the East Coast Main Line so travellers can get to London in under an hour and to Cambridge in under 30 minutes once the East West Rail has been delivered. And we will ensure, Mr. Speaker, that the pioneering work which has long been